Hello beautiful people, welcome to my channel. It's another beautiful day with your girl Olakumbi. If you're just joining in for the first time, you're welcome and thanks for stopping by. I hope you would subscribe before the end of this tutorial. And to all my old subscribers, I really appreciate you so much for tuning in today also. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make a simple kaftan, and I'll be using this fabric to embellish the neck, the sleeves and pockets. Okay, it's going to be a free kaftan. The materials we are going to be using are our fabric, tape measure, scissors, pattern master, straight ruler, chalk and pins. So let's jump right into the tutorial. To get started, the first thing we need to do is to place our fabric on fold. But one thing to consider while you're placing your fabric on fold is the widest circumference measurement. For me, the widest circumference measurement is my hip measurement, so that is what I'm going to be considering. Now my hip measurement is 40 inches and divided by 4, because our fabric is folded twice, so divided by 4 will give us 10 inches. 10 inches, I'll be adding an ease allowance of 3 inches and 1 inch of seam allowance, so a total of 14 inches. So you have to make sure you measure, after you make your fold, you have to make sure that the fold is not less than your biggest circumference measurement. So right now I have about 14 3/4, so this is just fine for me. So you have to do your calculation so that you know how much fold you're going to make. Okay, so right now this fold is into 2 because we're working on both front and back. So, and this is the wrong side of the fabric, this is the wrong side of the fabric, this is the right side of the fabric. So I folded it the first time, you can see it, I folded it the first time, then I folded it again because I'm going to work on both the front and the back. The next thing you're going to do is to make a guideline at the top of your fabric. So you make a line that you'll be using to impute all your other measurements. So I'll just make a line. The next important thing to note is total length of your dress, and the total length of my dress is 60 inches. So from this line I'll be measuring 60 inches to be sure that what I have is going to be enough for this dress. So I have 60 inches right here. I'll mark my 60 inches and I'll add an extra 1 inch for hem allowance. So that is it. The next thing is to impute our vertical measurements. So shoulder to bust, I have 10.5 inches, so I'll mark it here. Shoulder to waist, I have 16 inches, so I'll mark it here. Then shoulder to hip, I have 25 inches, so I'll mark it here. We already marked the total length of the dress, so I'll extend these lines from the point that we have marked. I'll extend them. Alright, this is our fold area, so our neckline is going to be here. The width of the neck I'll be using for this tutorial is 3.5 inches, so I'll measure 3.5 inches from the fold here. I'll make my mark. Then the depth of this neck is 3.5 inches as well, so I'll mark 3.5 inches here and make a mark. With my pattern master, I'll connect the 2 points together. That is for my front neckline. Then for the back, I'll go down by 1.5 inches. So I have both front and back neckline. The next thing I'm going to do is to make my shoulder slope, because this kaftan doesn't have a detachable sleeve. The sleeve is going to be cut together with the dress. My measurement, taking it from the shoulder to the sleeve, the total measurement is 28 inches. Now divided by 2, because our fabric is on fold, is going to give me 14 inches. Alright, so I'll measure 14 inches and mark it, and I'll also add ½ inch to join the turn up I'm going to put at the edge of the sleeve. So I'll mark a total of 14.5 inches. So I'll put my mark here. I'll go down by 1.5 inches. I'll connect it from the width of my neck all the way to this point here. My bicep measurement is 12 inches. 12 inches divided by 2 will give me 6 inches. So I added 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for allowance. So that will be a total of 9 inches. So the width of the sleeve opening is 9 inches. So I'll just mark 9 inches here. The next thing I'm going to do is to impute my bust measurements, my waist measurement, and my hip circumference measurement. My bust measurement is 36 inches divided by 4 will give me 9 inches. I'm going to add an allowance of 3 inches plus 1 inch is 13 inches. So I'll measure 13 inches and mark it. Okay, it's always better to make it a lot freer or bigger. Then if you see it's too big, you can reduce it later on than to be short of it. So I'll use 13 inches. Then for my waist is 31 inches divided by 4 will give me 7 3/4. I'll add allowance of 3 inches and 1 inch for sewing allowance. So that's 11 3/4. So I'll mark 11 3/4 here. Okay, for my hip I have 40 inches divided by 4 will give me 10 inches plus 3 inches ease plus 1 inch seam allowance, 14. So I'll mark 14 inches. I hope you guys can see it. Okay, so I have my first point here. This is the hip, this is the waist, this is the bust. Then we'll take this same measurement all the way to the bottom of the dress. So measure 14 inches and mark it. Okay, so I'll connect all these points together. I'll start from the top and move all the way down. Our sleeve opening ends here at 9 inches, as I said earlier. So I'll connect this together. Then our bust measurement ends here and connects to the waist. So I'll use my pattern master to just make a little curve at this point. And I'll connect this line to the waist. Then we'll connect it from the waist to the hip. Okay, from this point now, I'll take the line straight down to the hem. Cut off the remaining part of the fabric. So this is what we have right now. Let's don't forget at the shoulder line, you're going to add half an inch allowance at the shoulder before you cut it out. So for the neck measurement, you can use any measurement that is okay for you. You can make it more than 3.5 or you can make it 4 inches, 5 inches. The most important thing that you have to note is just to make sure that it will pass through your head when you put it on. Okay, so as long as it's able to pass through your head, then you are fine. Okay, so now that I've added the allowance, I'll be cutting with using the back neckline. Okay, so we are done with the cutting. I'm going to remove the one inside for the back and I'll finish up the front neckline. Okay, so we are done cutting. We have both front and back ready. I'm using this fabric to make the taping around the neck. I'm going to also be using it at the armhole. I will also use it at the pocket, but this one we want to cut right now is for the neckline. I already placed it on fold. You can see it. Then I'll grab my front bodice. I'll place it on top of it. The width is about 2 inches, so I'll just add half an inch for joining it at the neckline. At the neckline, I'll just use about 1/4 of an inch. Then also the one I'm going to fold in is about 1/4 of an inch. So I'll use 2.5 inches. I'm going to measure from this point now down to 2.5 inches. I'll mark this point here. Then I'll mark down to 2.5 inches. I'll mark it here. Then I'll go to the shoulder as well. I'll mark this point here. I'll mark 2.5 inches at this point. Okay, after we have done that, you open it up. So from this point you measure and mark, measure, mark, measure, mark, 2.5 all the way round. Connect your point. When you connect, you cut. Okay, so this is for the front. I'll do the back as well. Right now I have cut out the fusible interfacing that we're going to attach to the face out that we'll be using at the neckline. Okay, so this is for the back, this is for the front. So I'll go ahead and iron it, open it up, iron it on the wrong side of the fabric, and I'll be attaching it to the neckline. I've gone ahead to iron the fusible interfacing on the taping we're using, okay, on the face out. I ironed it on the wrong side, so I've used my pins to hold it at the neckline. So I'm going to begin stitching. Same for the back. So now that we are done stitching it, we use our scissors to notch it. Now that we have notched it, we'll top stitch it. After top stitching, then we'll fold it this way, we'll flip it to the right side. Okay, this is how we sewed it initially. We sewed it this way, then we'll flip it over to the right side. Okay, then our face out is out now. You can see it's going to rest on the neckline this way. Do you understand? Then you would fold this one in about half or 1/4 of an inch, depending on how wide you want it to be. Use your pin to hold it down before you start stitching. I went ahead to take out 1/4 of an inch. I made a mark all round because I wanted it to look very neat. After that, I folded it in and gave it a press. Okay, so it's laying nice and flat now. Then I use my pins to hold it all round. So now I'll be stitching it down. I'll do the same for the back. After we are done stitching our face up at the neckline, the next thing is to attach the dress together at the shoulder. Okay, but before we do that, we're going to take our strips that we'll use for the turn up. I already have 2 pieces of strip that I'll be using for both sleeves. So it measures 3 inches by about 25 inches. Just make sure that the length of the strip is more than the circumference of your sleeve opening. What you're going to do is to place it on fold. You can see what I'm doing. The strips are already on fold. Sorry, it's on fold. So this is 3 inches. That means like this is 6 inches. We place it on fold this way. You remember that we're going to join it here at the shoulder. So just place it this way. Now we'll make a mark there. We'll use our ruler to make our mark. And you do the same thing for the other sleeve. I'll cut it out, stitch it at the shoulder, then I'll be right back to show you what next to do. So I'm done joining it at the shoulder. I have my turn up here. Open up to the wrong side. Would take our turn up, place it this way. You can see the open side at the edge. Then we'll take it to our machine and stitch it this way. Done attaching the turn up to the sleeve opening. Right, this is the right side. I sewed it on this way. Okay, so what we're going to do is to flip it. See the way I'm doing it? You flip it towards the neckline at about 2 inches. You tack it just a little bit at the joining here at the shoulder. Just tack it so that it stays in place. I iron the turn up at about 2 inches. I use my machine to stitch it at this point here, just a little stitch. okay, to hold it down on the shoulder line. So I did the same thing for the second sleeve. So we're done with the sleeves now. We'll move to the pockets. To make the pocket, I already drew on my pattern paper the shape of the face out that will be at the opening of the pocket. So this is how I want it to be. I'm going to place it at the sides this way. You can see it. This is how it's going to look. Then I'll slip my hand in through this way. Okay, so I'm going to be doing that on both sides. Now, what I'm going to do is from about 1 inch below the waistline, I'll mark it here. Okay, so that's where the pocket is going to start from. What I'll do now is to cut out 2 pieces of fabric that I'll use to line the pocket inside. Okay, where the pocket is going to sit, I mean your hand is going to sit when you put it into the pocket. Do you understand? Okay, it's going to be in between the front bodies and the back bodies. All right, so that casing is what I want to construct right now. Looking at it, putting my hand in through this way, it won't be more than this distance, so I'll just mark it here this way. Okay, I'll mark it there this way. If I take it all the way to the top, it's going to be something like this. Then I'll bring it down about, you keep trying and making sure that there's enough room for your hand in the pocket. Okay, so from 1 inch below the waistline, you can make it 2 inches. It depends on how low you want the pocket to be, anyhow you want it to be, but I'm just taking it 1 inch below the my waistline. Okay, so I'll take the line, draw it down. I'll make it 14 inches because I'll be joining it here with 1/2 inch and up here also with 1/2 inch. I'll measure 14 inches including the 1 inch allowance. So I'll use my ruler and bring the line to the side. Using my leftover fabric, you place it on this line here and make it touch this one also. So I'm placing my fabric that I'll be using for the pocket casing. I place it on this line that I've drawn here, and I'll measure 14 inches also on it. I'll mark 14 inches here. What's important to note is that this pocket that you're going to put, the casing that you're going to put, make sure that as you place it on your fabric, it doesn't end before the edge of the seam allowance on your dress. It doesn't fall before that. Okay, so right now it is fine because it has gone way past that. All right, I will extend this 14 inches here. It comes out this way. So I'll use my pins, hold it down, I'll flip the fabric the other way and cut it at the edge of the seam allowance of the dress. So I'll put it in place right now. Then I'll use my scissors, cut this one off. Make sure you're not grabbing any other fabric. So you cut it on that line. We are going to cut 2 pieces of this. So I have 2. I'll flip it over and cut with the shape of the dress. So we turn it back over. So you see how our pocket looks like now. What I'll do is I'll notch it so that I'll know exactly how to position it. But before I do that, I'll fold it at the other side so that, see, I fold it the wrong side, right, in the back side. Okay, so that I'll position them exactly at the same spot. I'm going to notch it here, I'll notch it here, I'll notch it in the middle as well. I want to cut out the face out for the pocket opening. All right, so I've placed it on my fabric, which is on fold, and I've added half an inch allowance all the way around. I want to extend it as well, so right now I'll be cutting it out. I've cut out both pockets, then I've cut out the two face outs of the pocket opening. I've also gone ahead to attach the visible interfacing on it. I've pressed it on it. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll just place it, because there are going to be two. The second one is going to be on the third side, so make sure that both right side face right side. Okay, so I would cut out the excess so that it follows the edge of the dress. Just use my pins, hold it down, so I'll cut the excess off. Like I did earlier on, you flip it to the other side so that you can see clearly and properly. So I'll cut it off now. We're going to cut out the opening on the front body. After separating the front from the back bodies, on the front bodies, we're trying to create the pocket opening here, right? So we take a set of our pocket, we place it. You can see the markings that we have so far, and we can see our notches, so you make sure that everything aligns. Place it properly, wrong side facing wrong side. Then I'll take one of the face outs, I'll place it over it, then I'll cut out this piece. This is it now. This is the front part of the bodies, and this is our pocket opening that we cut out. So what we're going to do next is to take the one we cut out also. We'll place it wrong side facing wrong side. We'll place it like so. After you place that, the next thing is to place your face out. I'll use my pins to hold it down. So we'll stitch it round from this end all the way to this end. When we're done with that, I'll show you what next we're going to do. So when we flip it to the right side, just like we did for the neck, we'll tuck it in at about 1/4 inch and stitch it around. I have notched it, flipped it over, and take it in by 1/4 inch. I've pressed it flat. I'm going to stitch round here, and I'll also top stitch here. I've attached the face out at the pocket opening. It looks so beautiful now. Then flip it over. You grab the second part of your pocket, you place it right side facing right side of the pocket. Using your pins, you hold it. I'm going to make a small curve here at the top here, and I'm going to make a curve here. I'll use my chalk to mark it before I cut. Okay. So the first thing to do is to stitch the pocket. Don't stitch it down, you lift it like this. And you see what I'm showing you? You lift it up this way. With 1/2 inch, you stitch all round. With 1/2 inch, you stitch all round. Then you attach the front bodies to the back bodies and stitch all the way from the sleeve opening down to the hem. Then at the hem you fold in with 1 inch and stitch it. So that will be all. Let me go and do that and I'll show you what it looks like. This is the final result and it looks so beautiful. I'm loving it right now. I can't wait to try it on. Please, if you have enjoyed this tutorial or you have found it helpful, encourage me by subscribing to my channel, share with family and friends, give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave it in the comment section below. I'll be so delighted to respond to your comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Take care of yourself and have a great day. Bye.